Welcome to an online edition of Steve on Your Side. I'm 9 News consumer investigator Steve Stager. It's a shocking confession from a scammer, all caught on the lens of a police officer's body camera. This woman, who admits she stole $20,000 from an elderly couple, seems to want to get that couple help. Experts say the video we're about to show you shows us a lot about how scams work.
Hi, Thomas.
You could see it pretty clearly.
Are you Sue?
Yeah.
From the lens of an officer's body camera. The couple in the Wells Fargo parking lot on this January morning needed help.
We're totally screwed.
What's also clear,
What's all that?
they were getting scammed.
That's all the cards.
All the gift cards.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone was taking advantage of
Did
them.
you give every single one of those numbers?
Yes.
Yeah. We went up to over $20,000 worth of gift cards within 2.5 days.
Thomas and Sue called Steve on Your Side so you can hear what happened to them.
I wanted to tell my story to let younger people than me and old people like me that there are people that are after you.
It started with an email.
It said that somebody had purchased a $1,000 some odd dollar telephone.
Before they knew it,
I called the number.
Thomas and Sue
I'll have to hand you over to the investigation department.
say they were talking to a woman named Rebecca.
She was very, very
Convincing.
convincible.
Rebecca told them she was a federal agent and that their accounts had been compromised.
Go to this place and buy this specific gift card.
Rebecca sent them to stores all over town, King Soopers, Office Depot, Lowe's, where they bought hundreds, even thousands of dollars in gift cards at a time, each time passing along the PIN numbers to Rebecca.
Hello, can you hear me?
When all of a sudden, Rebecca told Thomas and Sue to head to the bank to recover their money.
Did you got all the belongings I told you to get?
Yes, I do.
But they had company.
What next?
A Castle Rock police officer tipped off about suspicious activity by Thomas and Sue's bank. He played a little theater.
Hello, this is the bank manager with Wells Fargo.
Over the next 10 minutes,
Actually, this couple has been scammed, so can you help them?
Rebecca told him everything.
Who is this that I'm speaking to?
The person who scammed them.
You scammed them?
Yes.
Why?
For the money. So they got the gift cards and I got the money from it.
When you heard that,
I wanted to kill her.
I couldn't believe that this happened. Am I still here?
Why did you do this to them?
Because they were good.
Because they were good?
Yeah.
what's unexpected
So just scam them down
is what they heard next.
and give them some water and explain them what happened to them, okay?
It seems the scammer is trying to get them help.
Now you have to explain them what happened to them because they are not aware of what happened exactly.
That was the first video of its kind that I had ever seen.
Aaron West is a former California prosecutor who now leads a nonprofit called Operation Shamrock.
How does a person who has a heart and realizes that what she's just done is steal thousands of dollars from an elderly couple? And though she wasn't willing to give it back, what she was willing to do is try and stop the bleeding.
West says the call also reveals
I do work for someone, okay?
a bit about the infrastructure of scams.
I'm not doing it for myself. I work for someone.
What we know about the way these scams are happening is that they are being run by Chinese organized crime.
I'm working on salary. I'm not getting their whole money.
A lot of the people that are behind the phone are being forced to do that work for some reason, whether they've been trafficked in to do the work or tricked into doing that work.
West says this isn't just someone in a random room making phone calls. It's an operation full of people whose full-time job is to swindle.
Imagine your average Hyatt hotel, every single room with 6 people whose full job is 16 hours a day to steal your money. And now imagine that there are 10 of those Hyatt hotels right next to each other, 25 to 50 of those in Cambodia. And then imagine there are even more than that in Myanmar. This is absolutely 100% a long-term plan to create chaos in the United States and to steal away a generation's worth of wealth.
Thomas and Sue,
You like my bunny?
some of the latest victims of that plan.
The police said that these people are so smart that if we had them working for us, we'd be in good shape.
It's hard for the couple at the center of this case to see what their scammer did that morning as compassionate.
They are thinking that the Wells Fargo will give them the money. So you got to explain them.
While it may have stopped the bleeding, they say they've already bled out.
This means my life just went down the sewer, and I have to start living, start saving and everything all over again.
There's one top-line piece of advice from a story just like that. If someone is really pushing you to buy a gift card, it is very likely a scam. We're going to talk more about what you can do ahead of time to protect yourself from scams like this in just a minute. But first, let's go back to Aaron West from Operation Shamrock and our conversation about this infrastructure, these transnational crime organizations who are looking to take your money. Aaron, just very quickly tell me what Operation Shamrock is.
Operation Shamrock is a coalition of stakeholders who are fighting the very scams that are costing Americans billions of dollars. What we are is a group of law enforcement, banking, victim services that are working together to educate against these crimes, to mobilize against these crimes, and to disrupt these scams that are killing us.
Let's talk about the video that I sent you. What do you think her intent was?
I think her intent was probably to warn these people that this was a scam and to take them out of the spell that they were under, that they needed to do this and they needed to move this money and they needed to comply with whatever the person on the other side of the phone was saying. What they did is gave this couple an opportunity to not lose any more money.
From your law enforcement background, you know, the cops here, they did quite a bit. They did a lot of investigation. They gathered a lot of evidence. That case got closed. How difficult are these cases to investigate?
At a local level, there is some investigation that can be and should be done to try and understand where that money is going and to see if that money can be recovered. And sometimes when it's a cryptocurrency theft, it can be recovered. But when we think about a local police department going after a room full of scammers in another country, that's a big ask. And so that's why we really need our federal partners to be working on how we are going to take down these massive scam facilities that are doing this on an industrial level.
What's your typical advice when you talk to victims in the course of something like this? What do you say to someone who's lost pretty much their whole life savings through a scam like this?
There is a whole different experience that happens to a person when they lose all of their financial wherewithal. It really is a crushing blow that's hard to understand. So what we have to do with victims like that is give empathy. And what we find is that's not always what they're getting. Frequently, we know that when they go to report to law enforcement, they can be treated as though they've made stupid mistakes or that this is not a criminal matter. What we need to convey to victims like this is you have been under attack by a very sophisticated enemy that prides itself on how it is able to steal all of your money away from you.
At what role do the people around someone being scammed, or at what point do they have a role in stopping it?
We should all be on notice that bad guys are coming at us as their job to steal all of our money. And when we are working a cashier role, we should be aware that senior citizens really have no business coming in and spending thousands of dollars on gift cards. No matter how many locations they're going, to accumulate that amount of gift cards, they had to be buying significant dollar values in the same locations. And even when a senior citizen tells you that they are buying this for a wedding, that's when we all have the opportunity to escalate it one more level and ask some questions about that wedding and find out where that wedding's happening and whose cousin is it and what did you order for dinner and what are you wearing to that wedding, because the fact is we're under attack and we need to be doing better to protect our fellow citizens when we have the opportunity.
Why did you do this to them?
Because they were good.
Because they were good?
Yeah.
As we said, that video of the scammer has made national headlines now, and it's really started a conversation. Advocates hope that seeing this story will get you talking about some steps that you can take ahead of time to try to protect yourself when the scammer comes knocking.
I'm with some victims outside.
The familiarity
Fell victim to a scam.
is a sad statement about where we are.
The victim was purchasing gift cards and providing that money from the gift cards and the numbers from the gift cards directly over to the scammer.
Yeah, that's a common one.
On a January morning, a Castle Rock officer fills a Wells Fargo bank teller in about what he just witnessed in the parking lot.
Who is this that I'm speaking to?
The person who scammed them.
When he talked to a woman who convinced this couple she was protecting their money from fraud by having them buy gift cards.
$22,000 worth of cards.
He has outside a stack of gift cards. It's about to $22,000. Yeah.
And he gave all of those away?
He gave every single number for every single gift card away.
That's so sad.
Even sadder, the realization the couple outside isn't going to get much help.
Even if we do a fraud report with our fraud team, they deny the claim because there's no way for us to prove that he didn't spend the money on his gift cards himself. So the fraud, even though we know.
We're not prepared as a nation to really investigate these cases or take care of our victims. We've got a lot of work to do.
Erin West is a former California prosecutor who now runs a nonprofit dedicated to fighting scams. She's called scams modern warfare, a plan by international organized crime syndicates to create chaos in this country by stealing away a generation's worth of wealth.
Victims frequently say, I can't believe I fell for this, but our victims are no match for an enemy that does this as an economy. This is the way of life, stealing money out from under people. They are the best in the world at it.
We're up against these transnational organizations who are running compounds to steal from you. It's not just the criminal in his mom's basement anymore.
Amy Knopfziger is part of the solution to help, running victim support with the AARP's Fraud Watch hotline. While she admits it's tough to get money recovered, she says there are support systems in place to help fraud victims cope and to help potential victims prepare.
Having the conversation from day one is so important, saying, Mom, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's happening over here and it's happening over here, so let's prepare that it might happen here.
She says people should set up notifications on their bank accounts, set up their phones and devices to elude scammers from the start with call blocking or sending unknown numbers straight to voicemail.
And I often ask people, how many of you have a lock on your door, a dog, an alarm, a fence, a Ring camera? Everyone raises their hand. How many of you have a credit freeze? How many of you have a call blocking app? And nobody raises their hand. Because we equate this crime with intelligence when it has nothing to do with intelligence. We think smart people won't be victims of this, but we absolutely know that that is not true.
Happens all the time.
All the time.
We heard from a viewer right after this story aired saying, we often hear so much about what to do beforehand, but what should you do if you're right in the middle of it, if you've been the victim of a scam? The first piece of advice is to absolutely call your local police department. They can start an investigation, and if you do it quickly enough, there are some cases that we've heard of where people have gotten their money back because police were able to seize it before it made it overseas. The second step is to try to find resources to get you help. One of those resources is the AARP Fraud Watch helpline. Let's have a little bit more of a conversation with Amy about that. One of the striking things is the cop then goes into the bank and is telling the teller about this. She says, oh, yeah, they probably know that even if they file a report here, that we're not going to be able to give them any help because we have no way to prove that they didn't spend the money on their own. That, to me, was striking about how little help there is for people who have been through this.
Well, I think it depends on what your definition of help is. If your definition of help is to get the money back, then yeah, you're absolutely right. There have been a lot of successes in clawing back some funds, but that's not the norm. But if your definition of help is providing emotional support, getting to law enforcement, making sure that everything in the future, like their bank accounts are locked down, perhaps they have a credit freeze or a fraud alert, there's certainly that kind of help out there for victims of fraud.
Do you think we talk about it enough as a society? I think it's one of those things where it'll never happen to me.
It is much bigger than what we think it is. The numbers right now, they're saying in the billions of dollars, but I think take that and multiply it by 10 or even 20. The problem is when some numbers are that big, it just goes over people's heads. So break it down and think about what could $1 million have done in your community? It could have built an elementary school. It could have had some kindergartners get some lunch, whatever it is. Think about it on a smaller scale and how it's affecting your community, and I think people would be more upset. I do think, though, that the conversations we're having at the local, state, and federal level right now are very promising on looking at this problem and really trying to find solutions for it.
We really hope this does create a conversation. Talk to someone you love about what you saw here today and what they would do if they found themselves in a situation like this. And as always, if you have a tip about a consumer problem, email us, SteveOnYourSide@9news.com. I'm 9 News consumer investigator Steve Steger. Thanks for watching.